Before I begin, I would like to thank the many people that have been exposing the abuses and corruption, particularly on the massive subject of immigration, which is in truth an invasion. What I'm about to share with you today reveals these invaders are not seeking a better life. In reality, they are foot soldiers, organized to exploit, disrupt, and sabotage. Much appreciation to our American people. Today I want to ask you a question. Why isn't anyone, from politicians to corporate media to social media influencers, talking about the United States Department of State's treaties in force? Just this week I remembered reading the 2017 version, so I went to check if there's a newer one. And yes, there is. On state.gov, the official government website. This PDF is over 500 pages long. Now watch closely. This document lists country after country from A to Z with specific agreements. Let's take a look at Somalia, for example. Under Somalia, we find multiple categories: cultural exchange, property, defense, employment, finance, foreign assistance, and even postal matters. Let's focus on the finance agreements first. Finance agreements from 1962, 1964, 1985, 1988, 2020, and 2024. Let me read a few. 1962 and 1964 agreements relating to investment guarantees between Mogadishu and Washington. 1985 and 1988 agreements on debt consolidation and rescheduling owed to the United States government and its agencies. 2020 and 24 more recent agreements, debt reduction and forgiveness, again involving U.S. agencies. So ask yourself, how many American and U.S. citizens know about this? Consolidating and forgiving debts abroad, while families here are losing homes, jobs, and savings. Let's not forget there's also defense treaties going back to 1984 and 2013. What exactly is the U.S. defending in Somalia, and who benefits? Even more strange, we have entries for cultural exchange and property cooperation. What does that even mean in this context? What property? Now, many of you know the CIA, USAID, and other agencies work through the State Department. So I ask a few simple questions. Could the massive fraud and economic manipulation we've seen for decades across North America be the public-facing side of a deeper system of covert operations and hidden agreements? I invite researchers and everyday Americans, as well as U.S. citizens, to read the treaties in force for yourself. Ask what's there and what's not, because when debt forgiveness, property deals, and defense arrangements are being made behind closed doors, it affects you, your community, and your future. Why have the treaties in force not been discussed by Congress, media, or public education since their release? Who decides which treaties and agreements appear in the public record and which ones are omitted? Are Americans and U.S. citizens ever formally notified when new treaties are signed with foreign governments? Why are certain nations with no democratic systems or active civil wars granted multi-decade treaty arrangements? Is the Department of State acting in the best interests of the Americans and U.S. citizens, or serving foreign financial networks? Why has the U.S. government repeatedly forgiven or restructured foreign debt while Americans and U.S. citizens face foreclosure, bankruptcy, and student loan burdens? What is the actual cost to Americans and U.S. taxpayers of these foreign investment guarantee and debt forgiveness programs? Who profits from the private banking and insurance entities behind guaranteed investments in unstable nations? Could these agreements be used as channels for laundering money or moving capital into offshore jurisdictions? Why are there multiple finance agreements renewed across decades with the same nations without public audit? What military or defense operations are taking place under the cover of these foreign treaties? Are U.S. defense treaties with nations like Somalia facilitating drone operations, intelligence contracts, or mercenary training? Are these treaties tied to AFRICOM or other covert military agendas that bypass congressional oversight? Are foreign governments being granted access to U.S. defense systems, technologies, or logistics through these deals? What internal safeguards exist to prevent abuse of treaty-based military authority? Continuing, what exactly is meant by property cooperation with foreign governments? Does it include asset transfers, real estate, or strategic land use? How is cultural exchange being defined in treaty language? And is it being used to mass social engineering, population migration, or data collection programs? Who authorizes the terms of foreign assistance programs, especially those not voted on publicly? Why is there no public audit of what U.S. properties, assets, or data is shared under these treaty provisions? Could the category of foreign assistance be concealing aid to foreign intelligence operations or paramilitary groups? Continuing, why are some treaties marked NP, not published? What content is being withheld from the Americans and from U.S. citizens? Are there treaties or executive agreements that remain classified or hidden under national security exemptions? What oversight exists to ensure the agency-level agreements are constitutional and not abusive? Why are no agreements with Aboriginal American nations and pre-constitutional Aboriginal American nations listed, despite these being recognized by prior U.S. treaties? If treaties are the supreme law of the land under Article 6 of the Constitution, then who ensures they are obeyed? What would happen if millions of Americans began requesting full disclosure of all treaties and financial agreements? Should the Office of Treaty Affairs be required to publish a full audit trail of every agreement? What recourse do we have if these treaties are used against our interests without our knowledge? Could these hidden treaties be linked to economic oppression, displacement, or demographic manipulation within the U.S.? How can we ensure that treaties are created, enforced, or terminated with informed consent? This, in my opinion, is a very important matter, not a subject to be reduced to content, but a subject to be discussed within our homes and throughout our communities. As always, much appreciation to our American people. This is Tomahawk Tony. Cowboy season is over. Scalp season is on. Tomahawk!